we can get the word out.
There, we're recording now. And we only had like 4 people show, and it was a deliberately kind of a dry run, if you will, just to see if I could get the technology working and everything. But yeah, so we're
Are these
recording.
weekly or
If you're,
bi-weekly?
it looks like we got one person on the iPhone. I don't know if you're able to put your video on or not, but I was going to encourage folks and help me remember, if you don't got mine, fellas, that as we progress, if you see a bunch of people calling in without the video camera on, I think it just helps a lot more if you just see facial expressions and so forth, right? I mean, 10 years ago, people would say it slows down the bandwidth, but I think those days are behind us. So anyhow, we'll start. Go ahead and start on time and see how many folks join in. Welcome everybody. I'm Jim Wood. I'm the kind of coordinating these ShortWing Wednesday Zoom gatherings that we're calling them. And I'm glad you joined. For those of you that it's your first time, I'm glad you're giving this a whirl. There's a couple things with Zoom, if this is your first time using Zoom, that you might want to be aware of. If you see that control panel down on the bottom of your screen, there's the far left, it says audio. If you click that, it'll mute your audio. And if your dog's barking, or you're being yelled at the vacuum or something like that, you might want to click on mute so nobody hears about it. I can mute you also, but sometimes right now we've got about 16 people on, so it's a little hard to tell who's making noise and not. So just if you can remember, put your mute on. I hate to do a mute all because then I don't, then what the heck? Then I'm just lecturing. I ain't doing that. So and then there's also, if you notice in that bar, that I don't know what they call a control bar down at the bottom, about in the middle, it says chat. And if you click on that, there's a chat box that opens up, and I'll try to monitor that chat box as best I can. And you can do as well. But if you got a question or something like that, or you want me to slow down or speed up or something like that, just absolutely say something, would you please? No. Nobody's feelings are going to get hurt. This is just supposed to be fun, right? This is just supposed to be connecting with everyone. So, so that's kind of giving you a tutorial 101 on Zoom. If it's your first time, the agenda for our meetings are pretty generic, but I'll just cover what the agenda is for tonight. We'll start out with about the first half hour or so with just a meet and greet. Again, if you read about this in the ShortWing Piper News or whatever, my vision, and this is just me, if you want something different, you got to tell me. My thought is using these meetings to build connections with each other, so we can start, everybody is so swamped and swarmed with text messaging and iPhones and all that. And I just get this feeling that we're losing the human one-on-one connection. And so the whole intent, this is not meant to like entertain you guys necessarily, although movie night's kind of cool. I agree with that. But it's just more to maybe connect with each other, build some friendships and some lasting kind of fellowship, and then also get together experts with our beloved ShortWings and maybe try to solve some problems for us and all that. So the first half hour, meet and greet, plus or minus half hour. And then the last hour is we'll have a topic each one of our Wednesday. We're doing these the second and the fourth Wednesday of the month so far. And I'll try to have a generic topic and maybe a presenter, maybe not. We'll see how that goes. And then open mic, if you will. So that's kind of the agenda for tonight. Tonight we're going to have meet and greet. Then we're going to talk about aircraft pre-buy strategies and owner assist annual strategies. And I had a presenter that was in line to do both of those topics, and he was unable to make it tonight. He canceled on me, I guess it was Sunday. So rather than try to scramble around and put something together, I figured, well, let's just use the wisdom of the crowd here. And we have such extraordinary folks that have joined the last couple meetings. I didn't think we needed a formal presenter for this. So we'll talk about your thoughts or ideas on what are the best strategies for pre-buys and owner assist annuals. Then we should have a little bit of time for, by open mic, I'm just saying, hey, if you want to bring up some topics or issues or questions or whatever. And then we'll wrap it up. We'll stop right at after 90 minutes here. So I'm in the mountain time zone. We'll stop at 7 o'clock mountain. Was that 9 o'clock Eastern? And I'm pretty, I just want to be strong on that. I've been in Zoom meetings where they end the meeting as soon as the last person stops talking, which can be brutal. So I just think let's just keep it at that. So that's the agenda for the evening for our gathering. Who's got any questions or comments or emotional outbursts? Nothing? All right. So let's start off with the meet and greet. And here's what I thought we'd do with the meet and greet. If you can, I'll have this screen on so you can just answer this. I'm not going to do call on people or any of that silliness. When you feel like talking, just unmute your microphone. Every now and again, I'll see somebody's lips moving. And so I'll try to get you to unmute or try to unmute you. I cannot unmute you. I can only mute you. And just jump in when you got a free moment and just talk about where your name, where you're located, where you fly out of, what kind of aircraft or multiple aircraft you have. And I thought it'd be fun this time around just to say for 30 seconds or so, talk about one of your best flights ever. Just think about that. And you don't have to, it doesn't have to be a 2 hour, there I was kind of thing, maybe 30 seconds, right? So I'll start if that's okay with you, and then I'll have this screen back up again. But I decided this is the first time we've done it with the fancy schmancy PowerPoint. If you like that or not, you got to tell me that too. But it just kind of helps me organize my brain too. So again, my name's Jim Wood. I've got a 1958 Tri-Pacer, 160 horse. I live in Thornton, Colorado, which is a suburb of Denver, north suburb of Denver, and I'm based out of Rocky Mountain Metro Airport, KBJC. And that's a photograph of our airport up there on the top part of the screen. Our field elevation is 5,700 feet and change. So, we know density altitude intimately well. I mean, we're already doing it now with 80-degree weather, keeping a good eye on density altitude. As you can tell, we're real close to the Rockies. And so we get some pretty challenging winds coming down those foothills. So it's a lot of fun. That's our airport. And you can see my airplane down below. I've got a picture on the left of my instrument panel. I'm modifying that here in the next few months. I'm going to add a GPS and another AV30 to it. So that's my baby. As far as my best flight ever, I've got several. I've been flying for 48 years. But Scott, you heard this story. Scott Nauman and I had lunch a couple days ago. And I got to tell you, one of my best flights ever was about 10 days ago. And I have 6 grandkids. 2 of them are twin boys, 16-year-old boys. And I haven't flown with them that much, which is criminal, right? But one of the 16-year-old boys decides that he wants to maybe pursue flying for a career. My son, his stepdad flies for United. So I took Jason up for his first GA plane ride in a couple of years in the Tri-Pacer. And it was so glorious. And he got out of the plane and just said, "Grandpa, this was the best day of my life." Right? So, right, how do you beat that? So I can, we can talk about solo or instrument flight, but when your grandkid said, "Grandpa, this was the best day of my life." So that was my cool story. So,
Very cool.
yeah, who'd like to do the same thing? Kind of just get to know each other here. Just jump on in. Jerry, are you
Well,
calling
the
in
airplane.
from
Okay, go ahead.
Ireland? Oh my God.
Yeah, good morning here in Ireland, Jep. I'm in here, just joined in.
Oh my God.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. This guy
Yeah.
gets some sort of special award for calling in at 12:30 in the morning. But anyone, Jerry, you want to do the name and meet and greet kind of thing? If I'm putting you on the spot, you don't
Well,
have to.
it's no, not at all. It's very simple. I fly a 1960 Tri-Pacer PA 22 160. I bought it in Denmark just almost 2 years ago and flew it home. Its Danish registration was uh, OYDUS. It's now registered in Ireland as EIAEY. I also fly currently a a J3. I was going to say it's actually an L4, and I have a PA12 under restoration at the moment. So
Wow, nice.
there's about me.
Wow. What about your best flight ever?
Well, you
I
guys can
suppose
probably see the project behind me. I just bought that Vagabond in January from Iowa, and the owner sold it. The seller flew it to me. I did a pre-buy inspection when I showed him the problem with the rudder at the bottom that was crunched in, and a couple other things I pointed out while he'd been flying it. He said, "Look, I'm gonna tell you right now. You're buying the engine, the prop. It's got a brand new Continental 90 and a McCarley prop, and it's already been. I got a stack of logs 12 inches deep in a big container from day one. A Gilbert Lyons flew this airplane from Lock Haven to Louisiana, and he was only 16 years old in 1948.
Wow.
I looked up the very first owner. I got the logbook. It looks like parchment paper. I looked in the logbook and I looked up his name, and lo and behold, out of five, Gilbert's the first one. His obituary was last December 30th of 24, and that's my birthday, and I have his airplane. I'm gonna fly it on. I'm doing a little bit of a partial restoration, some things oversight in that guy's part. Of course, the AD on the rudder, I got lucky and found a new rudder for it. So, it's been a project, but here probably about July or August, it'll be in the air again.
Awesome. Thanks, Russ. You might want to listen to one or two the recording if you want. Post me or send me a message, and I'll give you a link to the recording when Stephen Carruthers and Tom Anderson talked about that rotor AD. So it's pretty.
Yeah, he's actually got the rudder off of this. Tom does.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what he used for his models of what he was going to do on the AMOC.
Yep. All right, cool. All right, thanks, man. Who else like to introduce themselves?
I can go. I'm Dan Patey. I'm in Long Beach. My plane is in Compton. I fly a 1959 Tri-Pacer 150. I've had it for 6 years. Got most of my ratings in it. Now I am spending a lot of money and restoring it and keeping it forever. I'll post in the chat everything I've been up to the last 2 years. It's good. It's fun to be broke. Best flight ever. Best flight so far. I did my CFI rating in the Pacer with Sean Cavaney. I don't know if anybody knows him. He seems to know everybody. Um, it's not a 172, so he was like a little bit like a Tri-Pacer. What are you doing? He eyeballed it a little bit before we did the flight part. I took off about 30 seconds into the flight. We are getting like 850 feet per minute. And he was like, this thing does pretty good. And then we did a few of the maneuvers and stuff, basically finished a check ride. And he was like, let me see this thing. And he kind of whipped it around for, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes or whatever. We landed and then I had a CFI. So that one was pretty fun.
Cool.
Cool.
That's awesome. I have this dream of getting an ATP in the Tri-Pacer. Yeah, I think that'd be fun.
Let's race.
Let's like to go. You got to unmute if you want to do it.
All right, Melissa Schipple, based in Candlelight Farms Airport in New Milford, Connecticut. Grassfield, have a PA-16 Piper Clipper, serial number 446. I've had it since 2007. I'm a tail dragger snob. I have a Virgin logbook, tail dragger logbook. My best flight was, maybe 15, 20 years ago. 20 years ago, I took my 87-year-old grandmother flying, and I had noise-canceling headsets, and she had hearing aids, and they didn't cooperate. But I took her flying over an area where she knew a lot of really good land points, like Roseland House and a big farm and a fire department and blah, blah, blah. And I would point something out and I'd say, there's the Academy, Woodstock Academy. And she'd say, uh-huh. And she'd look down and say, oh, and she'd scream, Woodstock Academy. Well, I did 45 minutes of that with all kinds of landmarks that she could see, but she couldn't hear me. It was just a thrill. So that's my best flight ever.
Oh, cool. Thank you. That's awesome, Melissa.
Well, hey,
Like
Jim,
yeah, go.
this is Scott Nauman from Littleton, Colorado, and just really glad, Jim, for what you're doing. You have one of the nicest tri-pacers I've ever seen, and all the STCs you've done on that. Just, it's a beautiful, beautiful airplane up there. I'm based at Centennial Airport in Littleton, Colorado, Centennial, Colorado. My airplane is a 1959 PA 22-160. And I bought it from Dale Andrews. Dale Andrews was the secretary of the ShortWing Piper Club for many, many years. He and I went into a partnership. It's the airplane that I learned to fly in 35 years ago, and Dale sold it to me. The wings needed to be refabricated, and I couldn't afford it at the time, so it sat for about 12 years and or 9 years, and then we started working on them. Lonnie Barlow was my A&P, and he had done about 20 annuals on there. And anyway, Lonnie passed away from colon cancer while he was in the middle of refurbishing my wings. And long story short, a guy that's on this Zoom here, Ian Christie, is my new mechanic. He lives out in Lyman, Colorado, and he was just the perfect guy to put the wings on and get me back up in the air again after I never wanted to push Lonnie at all while he was fighting cancer, working on my wings. Anyway, but Ian got me back up in the air, and that was just wonderful. My favorite flight probably was my dad. I've flown my airplane from Denver to Minnesota, where I grew up, probably 30, 40 times over the last years. And my dad, I grew up on a farm back there, and got to take my dad. He was on the USS Boxer in the Pacific Theater aircraft carrier. Anyway, I got to take him for a flight over our 200-acre farm back in Minnesota. Well, I don't know that I've ever been as proud in my life as I was having my dad flying right seat with me in my little tri-pacer flying over our farm. So that's and Jim, again, thank you for what you're doing here.
Hey, my pleasure. I'm enjoying it, Scott. Thanks, buddy.
Very cool story.
All right. Who else?
Hi, Jim. I'm David Adams. I
David.
live in Ossipee, New Hampshire. I'm at a airport community called Windsock Village.
Oh, cool.
A tri-pacer right here in my yard, and I have a hangar. I have a 59 tri-pacer. I restored. Well, I've had it 50-some years. I restored it in the middle. Now, 20 years later, it's still great, going great up here. And I had some great flights. You're in the mountains. I live east part of New Hampshire, so I can fly to New York to our chapter meetings, Northeast chapter. I'm the vice president.
That's
And
awesome.
and it is great flying over the mountains, especially in the autumn.
That's
But the
awesome.
best
Well,
one
Dan Patey talked about his upgrades, and if you get a chance, look in that chat boxes about all the stuff he did. But you know what? If you divide all that money by 50 years, like David does, shoot, it's next to
A
nothing.
couple
Right?
bucks.
That's
Yeah.
the plan.
Well, I don't do that. I figure out how much I spent in avgas all this time. That's how I.
I don't figure any of it out because there's no good
Yeah.
that can come out of that math. So yeah, I don't want to know.
Well,
I do forget to say where I'm from. I live in Westchester, Ohio. My finishing story on my vagabond is when I purchased it, a buddy that I went to school with hangars up here at Fayette County, and 70 miles from my house. And he goes, "Where are you going to put it?" I said, "I don't know. I'm trying to find a hangar." He called me the next day and said the manager said there's 2 available up here. This hangar is less than a year old.
Wow.
So I'll show you guys this in the background. That's how I stay here all week.
Wow.
I camp in my little teardrop camper at the back of the hangar 4 or 5 days a week, and that's why I'm moving moving forward on this project at a pretty fast pace.
That's awesome. Cool.
I'll
All
be at
right,
Lock
who else
Haven
would
with
like to
it
join?
too. So I'll be at Lock Haven with the camper. So if you see that camper, I'm there.
All right. We'll come knocking. Who else would like to call or do the meet and greet?
Bob Gibson.
Hey, Bob.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. This is my second Zoom call with you. I've been a member for a few years. We have a 1953 Tri-Pacer, 135 horse, located at Clearwater Air Park. It's in a flying club with 8 owners, but last year I put 48% of the flying hours on it by myself.
Perfect.
In the same hangar, we're also restoring a Sea Ray amphibian, which is hull number 1.
Wow.
And then over at Tampa North, I've got my own Mona Lisa project airplane that's all done now. It's a 1972 AA-5 American Traveler, but the originals had 150 horse, and this one's got 200 horsepower in it, and an all Dynon panel, and it's all tricked out. In fact, it's going to appear in the August issue of EAA Sport Aviation magazine.
All right.
So you'll see that in August. That's the same month that they do the Oshkosh wrap up.
Nice.
So it'll be in that issue. And I guess my best flight ever, certainly one of the most memorable, was 2021. I ferried a Sea Ray amphibian for a new owner from Zephyr Hills, Florida, up to Grosse Ile, Michigan, which is just southeast of Detroit. And it took 2.5 days, and the average ground speed for the whole trip was 57 knots.
That's amazing. Very, very cool. Thank you, Bob. Who else would
I
like to
can
go?
go next. You got me, Mike Fossen.
Yeah, Mike.
Yeah, hi. I live up in Victoria, Canada. The airplane is hangared at the Victoria International Airport. It's a 1955, questionable whether it's a 56, Tri-Pacer 150. I bought it 3 years ago as I was approaching my retirement. I retired last year from the airlines, and I knew I needed my aviation fix and found this airplane sitting in a hangar out in Winnipeg. It had been out there for about 10 years, not being flown at all. So it was kind of like a barn find, but it had 83 hours on a brand new engine, on the engine and new fabric. So this ties in with the best flight I've had, and that was one of the best flights I've had. But flying it back from Winnipeg all the way to the west coast of Canada, which was, across most of the prairies and then through the mountains. And I've done a lot of flying, but never all low level in that kind of a scenario. It was a real great trip, good weather, fabulous scenery. And it was a lead into a whole bunch of adventures out here on Vancouver Island, where I've had it on grass strips and onto a beach on the west coast. It's a lot of fun. It's a very capable airplane.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike,
Yeah.
what's your front seat like?
I got a split front seat.
Split front seat. Is your instrument panel flush with the door opening, or is it ahead of the door opening?
It is ahead of the door opening, and I've got a high side on the left and a low side on the right.
Back windows, square shape, like a baseball home plate, not round?
Yeah, square.
You got a 56.
Okay.
55
Some of the docs say it's a 55.
55 had the bench seat, had the instrument panel was back flush with the door opening. Your rudder pedals were back 2 inches, and had the flat instrument panel, and your radio stack was on the left side, and you had 1 fuel gauge.
Okay, good to know. Then I'm definitely a 56. Some of my documents say 55, and I guess that's got to be rectified. But here's one thing: this airplane is in what we call in Canada owner maintenance.
Yep.
So it's kind of been deregistered, not deregistered, but it's no longer considered certified.
Right.
Standards.
When it was U.S. registered, do you know what the N number was?
I don't. It came into Canada. I've got the logbook with me here, but it came into Canada in 1972. I can give you the serial number is 3388.
Yeah, that's 56.
Okay.
because it's higher serial number than my 56.
Yeah, I don't. I'll have to look up to see what the N registry was.
Yeah, if it ends in Papa, it was a 55. If it's not a Papa, it's not an Alpha or a Bravo would be a 56.
Say that again.
If the N number ended in P as in Papa,
Okay.
it's 55. If it ends in Alpha or Bravo, it's a 56.
All right. I didn't realize that. Good.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Steve.
Yep, you're welcome.
Well, thanks, Mike. And like I said, if you're looking to upgrade your plane, take a look at Dan Patey's list. I'm just blown
as a
away
matter
by
of
that.
fact,
Anyhow, and that he's done in 2 years or 1 year. Jeez.
I'm just rebuilding the nose oleo now, and finding it a lot more challenging than I thought it was going to be. But
Reach out if you get stuck. I'm happy to. I'm just figuring this stuff out with my mechanic, but
Well,
I'm flying it in between. I did everything in front of the firewall 6 months ago, 9 months ago, something like that, and then I just started on these avionics 8 weeks ago. I should be done in another 4 weeks, and then I want to put 150 hours on it, and then I don't know, I'll probably redo the fabric or something. But it's,
all right.
yeah.
Who else would like to jump in?
I'll jump
Can
in
you hear
there.
me, Jim?
Yes,
Oh,
Bob.
go ahead,
Go ahead.
Fred. I'm sorry, Fred was jumping in there. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Bob.
Oh,
Okay, no worries. Bob Oakes. In St. Louis, but not St. Louis City, so I'm safe. My airplane's over in Columbia, Illinois, just across the Jefferson Barracks Bridge over in Illinois at Sacman Airfield. The aircraft is a 1954 Piper Tri-Pacer, 135 horse. I picked it up 4 years ago. A guy had it over at Creve Coeur Airport here in St. Louis County. And he hadn't flown it in, I don't know, 10, 12 years. So had to take the wings off of it to get it to the Columbia, Illinois. That wasn't a flight, but that was pretty much fun, towing a plane down the highway out Interstate 270 on a Saturday morning. Actually didn't have anybody honk at me, but I think they were I saw a lot of people gawking when we were taking up 2 lanes of highway. So that was fun. Best flight was probably shortly after I got my license, probably about 25 some odd years ago. They had if anybody knows the area here, Scott Air Force Base has a parallel runway to Mid-America Airport. And I flew over to Mid-America Airport with my kids. When I was coming in for landing, there was Pan Am was flying back then, and they were doing missed approaches, I guess. And because of my this was when I was flying a 172. As I was coming in, they made them go around for me. I'm sure that pilot was not pleased that his go around was costing him a lot more money than my landing was. The place was empty when we landed. I can remember though, there was one guy that kept on following us around in a suit. And if you wonder why somebody builds an airport like Mid-America in the middle of Illinois, if anybody knows Illinois politics very well, a guy kept on following us. His name was Vito Gambino. So he kept on following us we were playing with the microphones inside because nobody was in this concourse. And about the third gate, I said, kids, let's go back to the airport. So that was a lot of fun though. That's a lot more runway. That was a lot more runway. It's the first time I'd ever landed in airport too, where somebody taxied me in and tied me down. So I thought, well, that's awful official for a 172.
Cool. Thanks, Bob.
Yeah, sure.
All right, Fred, you're going?
Yeah. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I'm out of South Central Pennsylvania. I've got a PA-20, an original PA-20, 1950, 7405 kilos, the tail number on it. Like Mike, I retired about 3 years ago, and I needed a fix, and I learned in tail draggers 45, 46 years ago. My father taught me. And ironically enough, I found this airplane. I was looking for an RV4, an RV6, and I found this pacer, and I looked at it. It had just been completely refurbed. And ironically enough, the grass strip that we're keeping it at here north of the small town I live in, the airplane was there for 50 years. The airframe engine had a total of 600 hours on it since day one, since it was new. And it had been sitting in the hangar in the very place that it's at now. We returned it to where it came out of in 2014. Somebody bought it, flew it out of there, duct taped all the fabric on the empennage because it was so tattered, and flew it over to Gettysburg, and eventually made its way into a refurbishment shop down on the Eastern Shore. Stripped it down to the airframe and epoxied the airframe and built it all back up, overhauled the engine. And I found it over in Gettysburg in 2022. And I've put about 100 hours on it now in the last 2 years. It's been a great little airplane, and it's right back at home again, but at least it's flying for a change. It just says probably the lowest time pacer I'm guessing in the country, if not the world.
When they rebuilt it, did you get a new rudder?
Well, no, we're working on that. We're looking at the fix for it. We're trying to figure out what we're going to do with it. We're not going to rush into it because the airplane was just covered in 2018 and completely gone over. We just have done a lot of work to it, and I hate to tear everything apart when it seems like it's overkill in that AD anyway. But anyway,
What a bummer.
yeah, but it's a great little airplane. It's tight, and probably I won't say my best flight, but one of my favorite flights. I had my grandkids up and my daughter in it last summer, and thoroughly enjoyed that day.
Very cool.
Very cool.
How about we do like maybe two more? I hate to cut this off because I'm loving it, and I'm guessing you guys are too, but maybe a couple more. And I was going to mention there's about 6 or 8 folks on the call. If you can turn on your video, if you don't mind. I think it just helps seeing the nonverbal, the facial expressions and all that. I don't think it's slowing anyone's bandwidth down, and what the heck. So let's do 2 more people to introduce, and then do the meet and greet, and then we'll move on to the pre-buy and owner assist annual topics, and then open mic. Would like to jump in? Maybe someone that hasn't been on one of these yet.
I'll jump in.
Cool.
This is Tracy Hilla. I don't know if you can see me.
We can.
Good. This is my first time on. I communicated with you a couple times about getting on, and
yeah,
I was out of town, and then my computer got a virus, and it's been a
field day, man.
So anyway, I live in Northern Ohio. I live in Sandusky, Ohio, and my airplane is kept at a hangar over in Huron, Ohio, called Hind Airport, 88D. It's a privately owned public use grass strip airport. I have a 1948 Piper Vagabond that I'm in the process of restoring. It'll be done Thursday. I just don't know what year.
That's awesome.
I got my pilot's license in 2014 and started looking for a plane. Found a Colt and found out that it had been metallized, so I walked away from it. And then this Vagabond popped up. It had been at our local airport for years, but it hadn't flown in 34 years. The guy that owned it, the typical story, nope, it's not for sale. I'm going to restore it when I retire. And I bought it from his estate and started the restoration in 2015. I'm about 75% done, and I got about 90% to go.
Yeah.
Today I spent the day cutting all the holes in the dash panel. Fuselage is done, covered in its final paint. Tail feathers are done and covered. Haven't touched the wings yet. Engine's been all disassembled, tore apart, and is ready to go back together. It's got a C8512F. So other than that, I enjoy working on it when I get a chance to get over there, and one of these days I'll get it done and I have to go fly it. So
cool. That's awesome.
Tracy, I'd like to catch up to you. I got a 48 Vagabond. I live in Ohio. I live down near Cincinnati.
Okay.
I'm doing a partial restoration now, but I know the airfield you're talking about. They sold next to it. Their children sold motorcycle parts. That's how I found out that Hindi Airport was there.
Yeah,
but I haven't flown to it yet. So
yeah. Well, it's a great little airport. Very well maintained.
I talked to the owner. She said, "Come on up," but we just haven't been able to do that yet.
Yeah. Well, you should let me know when you're coming. We've
got
a big event going on this weekend up there.
Okay. All right.
Big fly-in coming up.
Okay. Are you on Facebook? Can I find your name?
Yes, you can.
Okay. I'll do that.
Yep.
I'm Russ Mink. I'm Minkenball. Real long last name.
Yeah, hey, can y'all hear me?
I'd like to learn a little bit more about your airplane, Russ, also.
Okay.
I think that was Greg. Were you talking, Greg?
Yeah, I was, man. I've been having trouble with my microphone. I've been trying to get on this thing since it started. But anyway, yeah, Greg Childress. I'm in Dallas. My airplane is hangared at Mesquite Metro, just 12 miles east of here. It's a 1957 Tri-Pacer 150. My best flight ever, two quick ones, coming back from Idaho from the ShortWing Piper Club convention last year. It was an incredible flight. I made it all the way back to Dallas in one day easily. It was flying over the mountains. It was just great. Also of note, last year I've flown into Oshkosh past 3 years, but last year I was able to go there with my 18-year-old son, and it was just a incredible trip. I've dreamed since the 1980s of bringing family up there in my own airplane, and it happened. And we just happened to we were tapped to do an air-to-air photo session for an article Bud Davison is going to do in one of the EAA magazines, either Aviation or Vintage. So it was my son flew with me on that air-to-air. So it was a really neat thing for him and a dream come true for me. So I love these airplanes and this club, and I'm looking forward to going to the next convention. And at some point, I have a couple of questions about that, but I'll go ahead and
No, you're creeping me out, Greg, because that was going to be my next topic after you got done talking.
Okay.
I was going to open up before we got onto the inspection discussions that I wanted to just touch on a couple things. And that was, first of all, to remind folks that the convention is a happening thing, obviously. And I don't know, Steve, if you're on the no, I haven't seen Andy if he joined or not. It's a little hard to see everybody. But I don't think it's too late to register, is it, Steve?
No, registration is open. You can register online if you just go to the website. There's a registration portal. Just click on that and it'll pull it up and you can register. Hotel rooms are the bigger problem.
Okay. What questions did you have, Greg, about the convention? You're on mute, buddy.
Yeah. Questions. You pretty much, I was just going to try to gather information. Nothing really specific, just a little bit of discussion about it. I guess there's going to be arrival information and that sort of thing, maybe on the website. But
one thing you have to know about Lock Haven, look at the traffic patterns, because if you're landing to the west, that's a right-hand traffic pattern.
Landing to the west?
Yeah, if you land to the west, because there's a mountain on the other side, there's a mountain on the south side of the runway, so it's not a left-hand traffic pattern. So look at the traffic pattern. There's also a parallel grass runway, and there's no simultaneous landings. So space yourself. If there's somebody lined up on the grass and you're lined up on the pavement, or vice versa, space yourself so they're not simultaneous operations.
Okay.
Well, Greg, the good news is last week Andy talked about the convention at length, and we had all sorts of things posted and everything. The bad news is I forgot to push record. So the website's got a ton of information, the ShortWing Club.
Okay.
And I even complimented the guys last week about how easy it was to register with the web link. It was unbelievably easy, which is great, So, yeah.
And Greg, if you're feeling nostalgic, we'll go fly together.
Cool.
I know I got formation flight training now, so we can get closer than half a mile from each other.
Cool. The other thing I was going to mention, just because I'm worried if I'll forget in 50 minutes, the odds are pretty good of that. But our next ShortWing Wednesday Zoom call is in 2 weeks, and the topic is going to be Oshkosh planning, and we'll see if we can come up with some ideas on maybe as the club do a few things. So,
Oh, that'd be great.
yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That'll be in 2 weeks.
Woo-hoo. And I won't be
Yeah,
present.
right. So, whoop, there we go.
What? Steve said you're not going to be there?
I won't even be president then,
Well, do you still come?
probably, because I won't have to work.
There you go. Yeah, you can still have fun not being president. So anyhow, the next agenda item, like I mentioned a couple weeks ago, and this was kind of voted in on, and I've been scanning Facebook and whatnot, and I just, I've seen several postings on where do you find someone to do on our ShortWing forums and all that, and I just know that that's a prevailing question on pre-buy strategies, like how do you basically select an airplane, and what do you do with the owner and location, and how do you select someone to look at the pre-buy, the evaluator? How do you document it, and how do you make the decision? And I just wanted to throw this out for the group if we wanted to talk about this, and if it'd be valuable to talk about. And I also coupled this with the discussion on owner assist annuals. And my thought was, we've got about 30 people on the meeting right now, and 24 it looks like. And if no one's interested in this, I'll just click to the next slide. But if you want to talk about this, chime on in about what are your questions or comments or experiences. And if no one's interested in this, we can move on. Like I said, this is kind of an open forum for our discussions here tonight. So what are your thoughts?
I'll tell you one that I kind of wish I would have known a little bit more about. So this is, after 25 plus years flying, this is the first plane I've ever owned. And I did call a buddy of mine that's a ANPIA, and actually had been in a 47. We were in a club with a 47 Cessna 140. So I knew he knew vintage planes and all that stuff, but I wish I would have had more context like this, that people would have known a little bit more about the Tri-Pacer in particular. So a group like this, I hear people reaching out all the time. And, Steve, whenever you pipe up and say, no, that's like, I got a kick out of that earlier, go, no, you think you got a 55, but you got a 56. And I know you know Jim Han. Jim was at the same airport. And when he came over, if anybody's ever talked to Jim Han, he is not quiet about talking. He can talk straight Tri-Pacers and Pacers for 2 hours solid. So having that kind of knowledge when you're doing a pre-buy on it, it was so, once I had bought it and once I started talking to him, and he told me about Steve Carruthers and all that, and some of you folks, having somebody who really knows that plane in particular is different to me than just buying a 172.
I'm getting some background from someone, and I can't tell who it is. I'm trying to mute a few people that are unmuted, so I apologize if you're trying to talk and I'm muting you. But yeah, Bob, when I bought my plane, I was kind of in the same boat where I took 1 million pictures, and Tom Gifford in the club went through those pictures with a fine tooth comb and really helped me out. So he kind of did a virtual pre-buy, and then I found someone out in Idaho that's where I bought it from. But yeah, I had a dickens of a time. I knew I needed to find a ShortWing person, but I didn't know anyone. Yeah, I wasn't as in tune with the club as I should have been, I guess.
It helped a lot because the guy that I bought it from had extremely good documentation. Everything was crazy in order, even though I didn't necessarily know what I was looking at. Not an ANP, so I kind of didn't know that stuff. But everything was so organized. His dad had been a machinist with Boeing here in St. Louis, so everything that was done on it was really done to a high quality. But there were still a number of things that I wish if I would have known somebody. And I imagine at that airfield, Creve Coeur Airport has got a lot of vintage aircraft there. And I imagine I could have found 2 or 3 other people that if they'd have just walked over that had said, well, make sure you look at this, make sure you check this. And
Yeah.
So having somebody that's really specific to the plane, I think, Jim, makes a lot of difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I can tell you about the short wings. If you ask me about a 172, I'll tell you they're made by Cessna. You know,
Yeah.
you
Hey,
know.
Bob,
So
go ahead. Bob's got a comment, but I think you're on mute, buddy. Bob, you're on mute.
Which Bob? There's
Bob
only me.
Gibson.
Oh, Bob Gibson.
I'm sorry, Bob.
There we go. How's that?
There you go.
How's that? Oh, okay. I was just going to agree with that point about the value of type clubs. I've been involved with 4 of them over the years for this one. To some degree, I sort of lurk sometimes on the Comanche group. They're fabulous. I've been involved with the Grumman organization since 1985, and also the Sea Ray amphibians. And some of you may remember back around 2000, the FAA put together something called the Small Airplane Directorate. And that was created because they realized that a lot of these airplanes that were out of production, the greatest source of available contemporary information on those particular types was from the type clubs.
Yeah.
So that happened when I was active with the Grummans, and I became the Grumman Owners Club's first technical advisor to interface with the FAA on the Small Airplane Directorate issues that came up. And yeah, I mean, who else besides your type club has a better vested interest in your airplane?
Right. I know I did a little research on, looking for documentation or somehow trying to find, we talked last week about Mike Bush, and I'm a big Mike Bush groupie, and I know some folks are not a fan, but that's okay. And Mike Bush talks on his podcast about pre-buys every now and again, and I thought it was fascinating where he was talking about how it's not the same as an annual, right? That this is the pre-buy is it's the buyer's document, right? It's the buyer's gets the results. You don't necessarily turn over your pre-buy stuff to the seller, and it's not necessarily, it should be just is it airworthy or not kind of stuff. It was interesting. If you're ever, I've had a couple people ask me about pre-buys, and it's that would be one resource I'd go to. Mike Bush, I know on his website. I thought I had it downloaded, but I don't see it on my screen. Let's see if I can pull that up here. Give me 10 seconds. About yeah, there it is. If I can move you guys out of my screen here. Mike Bush on his website had a pre-buy document for Cessnas and a couple of different Cessnas. But it'd be cool if our club could maybe gather some experts together and come up with something like this for short wings, I think.
It's already on the maintenance data depot.
Man, I searched it, Steve, and I didn't find it.
Every AD and every service bulletin and every STC for these airplanes is right there on the maintenance data depot.
Yeah, I saw all that. I'm talking about just something like this where it's a checklist on.
Forget it. If your airplane is halfway to an annual, get an annual inspection.
Mm-hmm.
Split the cost with the owner and do an annual inspection. A pre-buy inspection does nothing but take money out of your pocket.
Okay.
If you pay for a pre-buy inspection, nothing goes in the logbook. Nothing counts for anything. So in 5 months or 6 months, you're springing for an annual.
That's how I did mine. I got it eyeballed by a A&P buddy. We found like 100-hour checklist or something from like the 50s.
Yeah, it's on the maintenance data
Yeah.
depot.
So we did that, and then
checklist.
basically had a list of squawks, and I was like, all right, this is what I'm buying. And then let's turn it into an annual. And then I bought some magnetos, and away I went. And that so far so good. So
yeah. So what I did with mine is I had an A&P do the pre-buy looking for stuff that and then I paid him an extra $200 to do a full annual. And then I hired him to ferry the plane from the other side of the Rockies to my location. I figured he'd do a real good annual if he's going to fly this thing over Idaho and Wyoming and the Colorado Rockies. So that's what I did.
There's an incentive there.
Yeah, I know. I figured
I like that one. No,
he wasn't going to pencil whip anything. Yeah.
I like that one.
Other comments? I pulled up this. Is this what you're talking about? The inspection document?
Yeah, the inspection checklist is on the maintenance data depot.
Yeah.
It's there for most of the airplanes, in fact.
I could not find it, Steve. I'm telling you, and I looked. I did make a copy of one I got from the Cub doctor, and I'll post that in the chat box. So give me a second, and I'll post that.
While you're checking on that, I'll just make a comment on Mike Bush. I'm currently using his Savvy Analysis program for my Grumman, which is codenamed Bobcat, and I've found the analysis very useful. Something interesting about Mike Bush, though, to me anyway, there's somewhere on the Savvy Aviation website, they've got a bio on him. And of course, he's got all the kinds of credentials you would expect, like CFI, A&P, IA, etc. But his bachelor's degree is in mathematics. And I think that may explain why he is so data-driven and so statistically analysis-focused.
Yeah, from what I understand, he was a software engineer before he was started working on his own plane and got his A&P. Yeah. Doggone it, I had the thing downloaded. I'll find it. Oh, there it is. So I've got that inspection document posted on the chat box if you guys want it. That's only for the tri-pacer though. I don't know. You said that's for all of them, Steve?
Yeah, I'm looking right now. I need to get to the maintenance data depot. I'm on the website.
Hey, and while you're looking that up, Steve, Bob Oakes had a great idea as I'm looking in the chat box. If you can go in and just, I think, type your name and where you're calling in from, maybe your N number, your plane, just to see. I know since we've got Ireland and Canada represented now 2 weeks in a row, it's kind of fun just to see the depth and breadth of everyone. I think that's way cool.
Well, I am a friend Lobs from Ames, Iowa, and it's a sad day for me because Friday I sold my tri-pacer. I've had it for 30 years and put about 1,700 hours on it, and it's been a wonderful plane.
Yeah. Did it get to a good owner?
I hope so.
Yeah.
It was new experience for me. I was going to give my something extra for if he had any maintenance that he wanted to do, and he says, "I tell you what, knock off 3,000, and you won't have anything. I'll send it in, and we'll do an annual, and I'll pay for all of that. I'll take it the way it is."
Oh, okay.
And he caught me at a weak moment.
Yeah.
And I was selling it because 2 years ago, I caught something and nobody has been able to figure out what it is, but I lost my sense of balance. So I grounded myself. And I've been self grounding for about 2.5 years now. So he got me at a moment when I says, "Oh, hell, I'm never going to get better anyway. I may as well sell it to somebody that wants it."
I know when I bought mine, Scott Nauman's heard this story, but when I bought mine, the seller told me, "Hey, why don't you come stay in my spare room at my house?" And he had a hangar out back with the plane. And he picked me up from the airport and he took me out to dinner and he's asking me my whole life story. And he told me that he wasn't going to sell the plane for at least a year. And so he's asking me where I grew up and how I learned to fly and where I learned to fly and about my grandkids and about my job and my blah, blah, blah. And after the full second day of looking at the plane, we went up and flew it and everything like that. After that, he said, all right, I'll sell it now. I, honest to goodness, think he was interviewing me to make sure I was a worthy owner. You know what I mean?
I understand that.
Yeah, yeah. Cool.
I'm having that feelings right now.
Yeah.
Okay, Jim?
Yes, sir.
If you go to the maintenance data depot, on the left side, go all the way to the bottom to miscellaneous data.
Yeah.
Open that window, and you'll find the owner's manuals for the Tri-Pacer, the Colt, the Pacer, the 2115, the 16, the 15, the PA20 and the 22 and the 135 owner's manuals. You'll find the parts manuals. You'll find the inspection checklist for the PA15 and 17, the 22, the 22-108, the 20 and the 22, and the 16. You'll find weight and balance forms for those airplanes, and you'll find flight manual supplements for those airplanes.
What the heck?
So it's miscellaneous. It's under miscellaneous data at the bottom when you open the maintenance data depot.
Hold on a second here. I'm going to do this real time here. Can you guys see that?
But you have to be a club member and you have to be logged into the website.
So, okay, you guys, can you see the maintenance depot on the screen?
Yeah. Yeah.
So tell me where it's at, Steve. It's
okay.
I lost you.
Hang on. Now go to the bottom on the left, on the very left-hand side where it says maintenance data depot home. Go all the way to the bottom where it says miscellaneous data.
Yeah, I'm on there.
Okay, click on miscellaneous data.
Yeah, that's what we're looking at right now.
Okay, so what you'll find is your owner's manuals, your parts manuals, your inspection checklists, your weight and balance forms, and the flight manual supplements. For all those airplanes.
That's really awesome.
Just click
yeah,
on
but
it.
I'm being dense here. I'm so sorry.
No, they're right there.
I'm not seeing the inspection checklist.
Blue. In each of the little boxes, those are live links to click on.
You click on that, and it'll open the parts manuals, it'll open the flight manuals, it'll open whatever you want there.
But I'm still missing the checklist. What am I missing here? All right, we can do this. We can do one-on-one hand holding, I suppose.
Go third column over where it says inspection.
Oh, inspection checklist. Jiminy Christmas. I'm so sorry. God, I'm never going to get those 5 hours out of my back of my life. Unbelievable. Thank you, Steve.
That's the one I used for my pre-buy. I don't know where I found it. I must have got it off you guys, but
that's the same one. That's the same one you use for annual.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and it's like vintage. It feels like it's from the factory. So
it is.
I got a kick out of it. Yeah,
awesome. Yeah, that's what I use every year too.
So in that great big bolded print that says inspection checklists is where Jim was supposed to look. That's what you're saying?
Yeah, that generally gives you a clue that that's what's hiding under that.
All right, cool. Well,
if you go to the far right, your flight manual supplements are there for like flying with the rear door off for photography or skydiving or losing passengers or whatever. The winterization kit, it's all there. So you got to have those flight manual supplements to be legal.
Oh, that's hilarious that I missed that. All right, cool.
So see, this wasn't a waste.
Yeah. All right. Well, I learned something.
And down at the bottom under miscellaneous documents, if you want to put on your 6-inch metal prop, the instructions are there. If you need to rebuild your parking brake valve, the drawing is there. There's all kinds of stuff there.
Cool beans. All right. How about we just take a couple of seconds and talk about I know they're very close cousins, I get it, but the annual or owner assist annual, I'd love to hear, and I know people have asked on the forums I've seen and on Facebook and so forth about, what do you do? What are your best practices? That was one of the things my mechanic that was going to present tonight was going to discuss, and I'm hoping to get some wisdom from the crowd here about what you all do and how extensive do you do it. And I basically take off inspection plates and the cowling and change the oil and inspect the filter, and that's about it.
You can clean and repack your wheel bearings.
Okay.
that's part of owner maintenance.
A lot of guys
There's
nodding their
a
heads on that.
list of 33 or 31 things in
Part 43.
thank you, that an owner can do. And it's quite extensive, quite frankly. It's pretty awesome.
For example, if you get a hole in your airplane in the fabric, you can patch it and you can paint it, provided there's no rib stitching.
Right.
If you have to rib stitch, you need an A&P to do that. But short of that,
yeah, there's a certain size, you know, of the opening and all of that. Yeah, I actually did repair fabric this past fall. Yeah.
Yep, that's under user maintenance.
Yep.
Or owner maintenance. But yep, there's a lot of things you can do.
Who else does owner assist? I mean,
hopefully everybody.
Always done owner assist. I have an A&P who oversees everything. And that certainly makes a difference. And then we have and he's not an IA, so we have another person, an IA, do the inspection. I love doing the maintenance because I'm the only one flying it, and I want to know what goes into if I have a squeak or a tweak or whatever. So I've always done owner assisted annuals, and this is my third airplane.
Our Tri-Pacer is, I mentioned, is in a flying club with 8 people. 2 of our members are A&P mechanics. One is 83, and one will be 90 in June. But they've taken the lead on doing our annuals each year, and I make it a point to get out there. I'm not an A&P. My degree is in mechanical aerospace engineering, but I'm not an A&P. And so I get out there and try to help as much as I can. And I would say of the annuals I've worked on so far, the most exciting thing we ever did was change the landing gear bungees.
And you can do those as an owner.
Yep.
I've done that twice. And with the help of the club's tool.
With a clipper?
Yeah.
That's exciting in itself.
Oh, it is. But the club, the club library has the tool, and I hang it with an engine hoist and get the weight off it. Oh yeah, I've done it twice.
That's awesome.
Repeat that part. What were you guys doing? I heard a landing gear, but I didn't hear.
The
bungees.
Oh, bungees. I got you.
Yeah.
Yep. I have a bungee buddy for the hydrosorbs.
So when you do these, I've got again, this is only I've only done 2 annuals with the Tri-Pacer with my current mechanic. And how do you make an agreement on what are you doing? What are you not doing? Are you getting in the way of the dude? Are you, what tasks would you guys recommend don't go anywhere near, even though you're allowed to?
Yeah, but how well do you know your mechanics?
That's the whole answer right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've worked with my mechanic on other stuff. He's a really good friend of mine, and I've built decks with him and he, by the way, is going to be 89 in July. But it really it helps if you have a good working relationship with him. For a couple of years, I didn't have an IA that was somebody that I had worked with because there was a guy was going through a divorce and whatever. And so I had to use a different IA, and he didn't want me anywhere around. Now I have a new IA who even he is okay with me being around and looking at the airplane once we've gone through everything. I have this thing that I've made up that's really extensive with all my pressures and what kind of grease I use and what I oil this with and blah, blah, blah. But it helps that I know the guy. And I think if you've only had a little bit of experience with the person, or they really, more importantly, they've only had a little bit of experience with you, that makes it harder.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just ask them if there's anything that you can do to help.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing.
Yep. Because the thing is, you have a vested interest in the airplane, obviously, because you're flying it and you own it. So if your mechanic is a decent person, they'll say, well, look, there's a few things that you need a little more experience before we'll let you do, but work with them, gain that knowledge and that experience. Doing a cylinder pressure check is not hard to do, but if that prop gets away from you, it's going to hurt you.
Yeah.
So, there are things that you do that you need a little bit of training with, but it's, your mechanic should be willing to. Now, some places, if you just take it to a shop, their insurance won't let you in the shop. You can't go in there to work on the airplane, and that.
Yeah, we've got one shop on our field that says they'll charge you more for an owner assist annual.
Yeah.
My guy,
Yeah.
he's a young man, he's a great kid, and he owns a tri-pacer as a project. So he knows tri-pacers in and out. I'm gonna start sending flowers and bonbons to Ian Christie based on my buddy Scott Nauman's recommendation. So yeah, be looking in the mail for that, Ian. Just because this kid, the young man I'm using right now, he's phenomenal, but booking his time and even, it's like trying to book Taylor Swift for my granddaughter's birthday party, The guys are so stinking busy here in Denver.
Well, they're busy everywhere.
Yeah.
Guys are
airplane mechanics are hard to find.
Yeah.
I presented it to the guy at my airport that I bought a ShortWing Piper, and that I was building a Vagabond for 20 years, and it's pretty far along. But I'm going to be 70 in December, and I just came to the point that I wanted to fly before I could finish. So that's why I looked around for an airplane I could just, and I'm doing a lot of good things to this one, extensive to some point, but nowhere near what I was into.
Yeah.
With the Vagabond with a Piper Colt conversion frame and wings and everything. But this guy, I presented to him. I said, look, you can look over my shoulder. You can tell me, work with me. I said, this thing needs a firewall and floorboard and all that. And he said, we'll work with you. He said, but anything you do, take photos, write down documentation to the detail, nothing in the logbook, document it all, write down any part number and all that you're putting on it, part numbers and the sources, receipts and all. So I got it good. I walked in, didn't know this guy, and his son is an A&P. He's an APIA, airport manager at Fayette County in Ohio. So I just happened to look into the right deal, and I keep him. He knows everything I'm doing to it.
Wow. I'm curious to know what Jerry does in Ireland. About, I mean,
we have the option in Ireland for a vintage aircraft of having them on a permit system, very similar to the UK system, and tri-pacers qualify for that. Now, since my tri-pacer came from Denmark with a full C of A, I've kept it on the C of A in Ireland. Now, since I've been working with Pipers for 40 years, mostly Cubs and PA-12s, I do the work, and we have my licensed mechanic signs the paperwork. He came down, it's actually going through the annual at the moment. So he came down, had a look at the airplane, and said, Jerry, will you do this, that, and the other? And he's just signing the paperwork and sending it into the Irish Aviation Authority, and they'll issue the certificate of airworthiness. If I had it on a permit to fly, it would be very similar. I would do all the work, and they have a number of inspectors who would just come down, look at it, and sign it off, I would hope. So my Cub is on a permit, so I know both systems. So that's about this system here.
Interesting. Cool.
I do know some countries, they still are a lot of airplanes still with U.S. registration, and then you can buy U.S. rules.
Yeah, there's a good number of less now than there were a few years ago, because the Irish Aviation Authority were very strict on C of A's maybe up to 5 years ago. And it seemed easier for people to keep aircraft on the US register. There's a number of ANPs with instrument authorization that would fly into Ireland once a year, and you would just book them. They'd come and sign off your airplane. There's still a few on that on the N register in Ireland.
Awesome. All right. Any other comments on owner assist annuals that you think would be valuable sharing with the group?
If you've got an ANP or an IA that's 88, 89, 90 years old, shadow him. Suck everything out of his head, because you know what?
Oh, yeah.
These guys, they have forgotten more than you will know. and these guys, I mean, you know, you ask them about mags, they'll go into detail about the weirdest things that make a difference.
You know what we started doing with our flight instructor who's just turned 90 last week, Steve, is we're starting to videotape his stories and his ideas. Rather than, you know, shadowing's great, but wouldn't it be cool to have it on video?
Well, that's such a lovely idea.
Even better.
Yeah.
Even better.
Yep.
Cool.
And just as a follow-up to Steve's comment, that's an excellent idea on shadowing, but I'm finding with the two guys I'm dealing with, I don't have enough brain cells to keep up with everything they're throwing at me.
Yeah.
The younger one, age 83, was formerly a crew chief on C-130s in the Air Force. And the 90, well, the one who's going to turn 90 in June, spends his summers up in Michigan as a crew chief on a B-25.
That's so cool.
They're active.
God, I'm such a slacker. All right.
I want to be them when I grow up.
Yeah, right.
You got a goal.
Well, Bob, I've got a comment for you. I learned to fly on an AA-1, the Grumman.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's placarded for no aerobatics.
Right.
And I learned that the hard way. Real pucker factor. That's what I learned on. And it's got its main gas tank is a big pipe right through the middle. It's also the spar.
Yep.
And if you get into a fully developed spin, there's not enough rudder to pull it out.
Yep.
You're screwed.
NASA found that out too. They got an AA-1 for spin testing because they never found anything that spun more reliably and consistently.
Yeah, and it's fast.
It was equipped with the tail parachute for the spin recovery, and they deployed that tail chute hundreds of times during their testing.
For good reason.
Well, cool.
Anyway, I was going to say with owners, just that annual, I can do the whole thing because I'm A&P and the whole show, but I still have my IA look it over one more time, and every now and then they'll find something.
Yeah. Well, cool. Hey, I also promised you guys that we'd have a little bit of time. We've got about 15 minutes left, just for like opening the floor for any topics that you either wanted to bring up or problems or challenges or whatever the heck, or ideas for future Zoom gatherings here. Like I said, next one is going to be talking about Oshkosh. We'll talk about that here in a sec. But I'd love to hear, you know, questions or outbursts or whatever for another 10 minutes or so.
I've got a quick update from the last Zoom meeting, which was my first one I attended with you folks. And I explained that I had reserved a room up for the convention in Lock Haven, but I was worried about our plane not making it because on the day of that last Zoom meeting, we discovered that our prop had been condemned by a local prop shop.
Right.
And at a phone call after the Zoom meeting with Steve, he offered to let us borrow his prop to fly our tri-pacer up to the convention and back, which I thought was above and beyond the call of duty, but I'm treating that as plan B right now.
Wow.
Since then, we got the prop back. While it was away at the shop, we also had both of our magnetos rebuilt. We have slick magnetos on our 0290, and they had 461 hours on them. So they've been rebuilt. We've got the prop back, and we are taking it to a prop shop in Winter Haven tomorrow for a second opinion. So if it's indeed condemned, we'll find out. I've got an inquiry into to Cincinnati, to one of their people about a new replacement prop if we have to go that route, but they haven't returned our calls yet. So that's an update. If I find I can't go to the convention, I'm going to announce on one of your Zoom calls that I'm releasing my hotel rooms.
Okay. Isn't it cool about Steve loaning out a propeller? I mean, what other, how do you not love aviation, right? Like saying you can have my steering wheel because, nobody does that. How cool. Other topics or open mic, kind of open floor.
Okay, I'll have one more.
Okay.
If you're flying into Oshkosh, this happened to me, and it was getting dark, and I went off to the east and then go up over the lake. Beware, as soon as you go over the lake, and it was marginal. It was about 5 mile visibility. For me, that's marginal. And as soon as I got over the lake, it was IFR. And I wasn't prepared for that. And I had several minutes of pucker time.
Wow.
And so I knew that it was clear to the west, made my turn and climbed up. And I got over some airport in northern Wisconsin. And lo and behold, there was an opening in the clouds. And I was able to zoom right in with the dead engine because with the pucker time, I forgot to pull the carbine.
Wow.
So beware, you can get suckered in even though you say, no, I'll never
That
do
never happened to
that.
me, right? Yeah. Cool. Other items for the floor.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, Steve Carruthers, for pointing me towards this maintenance data depot. Holy crow, there's a pile of stuff here. This is awesome.
Oh yeah, trust me. If you can't find the information you're looking for there, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, I've been relying on people from my local chapter to, because I have a PA-16, so the parts manual is like not much. And I've been getting pictures from Mike Hirsch from his PA-20 parts manual. This is awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, this might.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Mike.
Sorry, I'll let you guys
stepped on each other. Go ahead.
This might be going down too much of a rabbit hole, but just quickly, I'm going down the AV 30 route right now. So I know there's G5s, alternatives and all that, but can y'all just let me know what other systems I should look at that are out there that are comparable or that I should look at in addition to AVs.
I got the AV30, Greg, and I love it. I'm putting a second one in.
For your airplane, Greg, for your airplane AV30s or the Garmin 275s, but hold on to the 275 because, buddy, that's expensive.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The thing about the G5s, see, I've got AV30s in my airplane, and we put G5s in mats. The G5, I don't know why they did it, but it's square.
Yeah.
It doesn't fit. You got to butcher up your instrument overlay. I just don't like it. And the AV30, so I got the AV30s when they were brand new, so I've been through all the bugs and all the pains and all the heartache. You won nav mag.
The magneton.
Yep. Don't try without it.
Yeah, that was a game changer when I put the magnetometer in. Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm also putting an AV20 in for an angle of attack indicator.
Okay. Do the AVs give me IFR?
They do now.
They do now?
You can certify as you got to have two of them.
Okay.
You got to have two, which you will have, and you got to have the magnetometer. I'll tell you what though, if you do you fly at night?
I do.
Then the first thing you have to learn with the AV30 is how to turn the brightness down.
Oh.
Because manual brightness, mine, auto is generally up around 98, 99. At night, I turn it down to 2.
No.
It's the first time I flew at night with that thing, I had to cover it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, you couldn't see anything. So
Okay.
it is daylight readable in direct sunlight.
Okay.
But at night, it's too bright.
So
Now,
Greg, what you need to get with what I'm getting anyhow with this my AV30 is the HSI plugin that's not yet certified. So I'm on a waiting list, but it's supposedly coming out soon.
Yeah.
And that gives you vertical guidance, so you can use a WASP, you can do LPV approaches and all that.
Right. Now, one thing about Greg, what transponder do you have?
I've got the Stratus.
Oh, okay. See, if you put a tail beacon X inside your fuselage, your AV30 then becomes your control head for your transponder. So you get that transponder out of your panel.
Wow.
So
that's pretty neat.
I'm just going to put a tail beacon X inside my fuselage and get my transponder completely out of the panel.
Nice.
That's pretty neat.
Well, yeah, because your AV30 is your control head.
Yeah.
It's your encoder also.
I have a Garmin transponder I pulled out to put that Stratus in there. Still have it.
Yep.
The oddball one is the Aspen E5. It's basically
That's what I was. Yeah.
I already had one G5, so I went with 2, and then I'm putting in a GNX 375, so I can do RNAV and LPV. That's also my transponder. I had a transponder blowout, so
okay.
I tore the whole panel out. Why not, right? Why fix one thing?
Yeah.
But I went down that path. If I didn't have the 2 G5s, I would be looking closer at this E5 because I think it's 5K. You get a magnometer, you get a bunch of stuff with it. I like Aspen, but I ended up going Garmin with a bunch of this stuff. So
yeah,
as long as the Aspen works, it's good.
Yeah.
Aspen, you said the T5 is what it's called?
E5, Echo 5.
E5 Aspen.
Yep.
Okay.
And I think the G5s, I think I paid $2,200 for my AI one. AV30s are similar. I think the GI275s are like double that or something.
They are.
They were crazy expensive. So
yeah. Okay. So the G5, I thought the G5s were much more expensive than that.
I think you get 2 G5s for 5K. Magnometers 500 maybe. I also
like the AV30s.
Yeah, I put the Garmin probe in there too, so I can get winds aloft.
Yeah.
The altitude. And then I got 2 probes because I put another one in for my JPI engine monitor. Because I'm going crazy. I'm doing everything. So I'm gonna rename the airplane Overkill. But
yeah. Dan, you and I are on different pages. I'm taking everything out of the airplane to get the weight out of it.
Well, I am too, but I'm going to remove all my VOR and ILS stuff, I think. It's going to eventually, I'm not going to fly down to 200 feet in this thing. But just pulling all those wires, I mean, it's like 900 and some wires or something just for all the stuff. And then each radio I'm doing, I have a GMA 340 going to 2 radios and this transponder navigation thing. I bet all in, I had 24 wires in there or something. It's really simple. So tracing stuff out, what's broken, what's loose, whatever, should be a lot easier. I'm also redoing the pitot-static with Polyflow and Nylock.
Yeah.
And where are you based again, Dan?
I'm hangared in Compton. I live in Long Beach.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, he's in California.
California, yep.
Cool.
So I'm thinking flying to Osh, Jim. I'm thinking maybe coming your way because I don't want to fly through Arizona when it's 115.
No. Scott Nauman's got plenty of room at his house.
Yeah. Hopefully, I'm just passing through. I don't know. Looking at your DA, I think I just get up at 3 a.m. and blast off.
Oh, it's not that bad. First thing in the morning. Yeah. And it's downhill,
Right. Yeah. Just point of, sure.
Yeah. Cool.
Another AV30 question. Where's the best place to purchase those?
Right now, because I've done a ton of research, Tracy. So UAvionics website lists them for $24.99, and they do a 10% discount like Father's Day and Oshkosh and Sun and Fun and all that. So don't pay retail for it. But Sarasota Avionics is selling them for $2,189, and my shop is matching that price.
Well,
So
how
that's
many
the
people
cheapest I
want 'em?
found.
If we get enough
Sarasota.
people that want them, we can go directly to Uvionics and say, "Hey, can you make us a deal?"
Yeah, well, that's what I think my shop is doing, and that way, if something's wrong with it, I just go rattle his cage, on the field. But
Specific,
that was
specific
something I was hoping to do with these Zoom gatherings as we get momentum. I know, and I mentioned it. I don't think I mentioned it tonight, but I'm stealing a lot of these ideas from the Comanche Zoom group, and about every, I don't know, 8 or 10 weeks and they do weekly ones. They'll have a manufacturer come in and do a quick spiel, and then we'll do group buys. So maybe I know Rebecca, because I'm like you, Steve. I was an early adopter to AV30, so
Yep.
tech support woman and I were on a first name basis. So
I've got her cell number.
yeah, I have Rebecca's number too. That's hilarious. Maybe I can reach out. They did a little spiel at Madras
Yep.
last year, but maybe
Yeah.
that'd be something for our Zoom call. Yeah, because they've got some cool stuff barreling down, supposedly.
Yeah, they do.
Pacific Coast Avionics is in Oregon. They don't charge you sales tax, so that saved me a chunk of money.
Yeah, my guy's not charging me tax either. My lady friend lives in Oregon, and I was going to ship all the stuff to her. Not if you were the IRS, of course, don't do that. I've heard people.
I already direct. I'm in California, and we're 10%, so it saved me.
Oh yeah, right.
Well, and I didn't have to jump through any hoops or anything. I just went to their
Cool.
website. Yeah, so something to look for.
Well, like I said, guys, the last couple minutes, I do want to stop on time just to be respectful of everyone's time. To close out, I'm asking you, please, next Zoom gathering in 2 weeks, we're going to talk about Oshkosh. We already did the last call, quote unquote, next week, I guess, is for the convention. But one of the things, like I mentioned, is I attended the Comanche Zooms before I bought my Tri-Pacer. I had a Comanche, and those folks, they do it right at Oshkosh. They have and Sun and Fun. They have what they call fruity blender drink time every day at 3:30, and you just drop in and shoot the breeze and have cocktails and all that. And they go out to dinner and they do this and that. And I just thought that we could at least throw that idea around, noodle that around at the end of May, and with enough time to plan to where maybe if we decide to go out for a fish fry, or if we want to have drinks and all that, do some planning ahead of time. And then if that doesn't have much momentum, we could at least talk about some ideas on getting there and where to park and all that happy stuff. So that's what I was thinking we'd talk about next week.
You do know the name of my airplane, right?
I do. The Cub Pub, yeah.
The Piper Pub.
Cub Pub, one of the two, I can't remember.
It's the Piper Pub.
Piper Pub. There you go. I knew I was close.
It had a baggage.
Oh.
It had a beer tap on the baggage door at Oshkosh.
There's a guy on our field that has. Oh my God! I gotta look at the picture. I haven't seen it for a couple years. That he built this thing. It's an airplane-looking, trailer-looking margarita machine tapper thing, and it's like, boy, that's one dude that has way too much money to waste. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Anyhow, the last thing I wanted to just remind everyone is you got my contact information in the screen if you want to take a screenshot or whatever. If you've got any questions or comments or feedback on what you'd like to do or not do with these meetings, I would love that, okay? Because I don't want this to just be my ideas, because I'll screw it up. So please let me know what you like or you don't like. I'm really working on figuring out where to house the recordings. I'm being a cheap German is really what I'm doing, because someone mentioned posting them on YouTube, which is a glorious idea. I'm trying to figure out how we can get it to where everyone has access, but not I've got YouTube videos of my dear sweet mother telling old stories back before she died. So I don't want you guys seeing that.
Is there any way it can be posted to the site, the website?
I don't know, Melissa. I think there's a new website coming, and Tom Anderson said that might be a possibility in the future. The other option would be to have Zoom host them, and that's kind of going to be my default. But they want $10 a month, so I'm being too cheap, and I don't want to spend that. But I will get some system in play in the next week or so. In the meantime, if you just email me, I will post the recordings on the Dropbox link that I have, and you can watch them there.
Yeah, two things for you, Jim. One, for $10 a month, I'm pretty sure we can get the club to pay for that. And two, I don't like pineapple on pizza.
You don't like what?
Pineapple on pizza.
Okay, I'll remember that. Yeah. The 10, again, my deal was I was donating this to the club, Steve. That's why I don't want to start shaking down the club for $10 a month or whatever. Then I don't feel guilty if I screwed up. Any other questions or comments before we button her up?
No, great meeting.
Cool.
And I've attended some of those Comanche Zooms as well, and I'm looking forward to this really picking up steam and being like that. So this is good.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. I appreciate it.
Thanks for organizing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Nice work, Jim.
Thanks, Russ. I appreciate it. All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Have a
good
good night.
evening.
Bye.
Thanks again.
You're welcome.
See ya.
Jerry, go to bed. What are you
See you
doing,
soon.
man?
Good night. God.
Good
Good
night.
night, everybody. Okay.
I'm going to stop recording
Okay.
here. Stop recording if I can find the button. There we go.